Hi, I'm Jeremy, and today I'm going to take a look at a new game but from one of my favorite publishers, the German publisher Alia, and they've recently introduced this small sized card game box into their line of games. The first game in this line was the Castles of Burgundy card game, which I did not especially like, even though I really like the Castles of Burgundy full game. This game is similarly an adaptation of a larger box game in their series. It is the Broom Service, the card game, and it's designed by Andreas Pelikan and Alexander Pfister, the same people who designed the big box version of the game. Broom Service, I think, is fine. I might prefer Witch's Brew, its predecessor, but it's, I think, a worthy family game. This one, I'll let you know what I think about it after the fact, but let me take a moment, first of all, to show you how the game plays. In Broom Service, the card game, players are going to be playing witches who are trying to gather potions in order to complete certain recipes, or simply to gather potions in order to score points for gathering like-colored potions. And the way that they're going to do that is that, first of all, the main component of the game is this deck of cards, which shows a number of different witches. And these cards have two basic components. So first of all, there's a number on there which tells you how many of that color are in the deck, which will be important as you could see which cards have already been played. And then second of all, they have a color which corresponds to the potion that they give you. So each card will also have two sides. So there's a cowardly side which will give you one potion, and you could always be guaranteed to take that. Or if you're feeling brave, there's a brave part of the card which you would play with this side face up, and that would give you two potions plus one brave potion, this multicolored potion. So one of the goals of the game is to gather potions so that you can complete these recipe cards, and you're going to flip 3 of these out for the entire game. And in order to complete these, you'll have to have all the potions shown on the card. So these 3 plus these. And you'll notice that there's a player count on here. You'll use different cards with different numbers of players. All of these cards have on the back of them 5 points, because if multiple people claim one of these in the same round, one person will get this for the 5 points and the other will take just any other card not in play and use that as a scoring marker. So the way that the game works, and it's going to be played over 4 rounds, is each player is going to get a number of cards at the start of the game, and you can see that's going to vary based on the number of players, and also with the number of players you'll use different numbers of cards, so you'll add in different colors of cards as the player count increases. So here I've set up a 3-player game, and each player at the start of their round will have 17 cards to pick from, and they're simply going to pick 3 of those cards from their hand, all of them being different. So let's just say this player picks these, this player picks these, and this player picks these. And they'll all do that simultaneously and in secret, and then they'll keep these hidden, but I'll just flip them up for the sake of demonstration. And starting with the first player, they are going to play one of their cards, and they could choose to play it as either a brave card or as a cowardly card. So let's say this player wants to play this blue card, and they say, this is a brave card, so they'll play it with that side face up, with the brave side face up. And now it'll go to the next player, and if they have a card of that same color, they're required to play it, but they could play it either as a brave card or as a cowardly card. So if they chose to play it as a brave card, it will cancel out this player's card, because only one brave witch of a color could exist each round. But let's say this player chooses to play it as a cowardly card. They say, I'm going to play this cowardly. That's fine. They're going to get this potion no matter what happens, and this player still continues to retain their brave status. This third player also has a blue card, and since they're last, they probably should play this as a brave card, because nobody else could play brave after them. So they would say, I play this as brave. This person would flip over the card, just to indicate that they did not successfully get their potion, and these people would get to put those cards face up in front of them. They would be collected potions that will score them endgame points. You're going to get points for collecting potions of the same color, or points that could help them acquire these cards. To get these cards, you do not spend potions, you simply have to have them present in front of you. So this one, for example, needs 3 brown potions and 4 blue potions. So that would be the end of the first round of the first phase, and the game's going to be played over 4 phases. So now, since this player was the last brave player, they would then get to choose the next card. So let's say that they would say, I'm going to play this one cowardly, this person doesn't have that card, this doesn't have that card. So now it would just go back to this player. They get to keep that. And since there was no brave player, this player who was the first cowardly gets to retain their status. So let's say they play this brave. Again, they don't have their that color, so this player gets to keep that brave status. Now this player is effectively out of the round, and it will just rotate back to this player now, who can play another card. So because they got burnt last time, they might choose to play this one cowardly, and this player would play this one brave. And now since they were brave, they get to lead again. Maybe they'll choose to go cowardly here, and this person only has this card left, they would choose to go brave. So that's how an entire round is going to play out, and the game's only going to last 4 rounds. Now what you'll do is you'll check to see if anybody has the potions to claim any of these cards, which is not the case. Again, more than one person could claim them in the same round. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this player had the potions for this card. They would take that card, and no one else would be able to claim that card, or that card, for the rest of the game, unless they did it the same round. If this player also had it the same round, they could claim just a 5-point card here. And again, this would just get flipped over and be 5 points at the end of the game. After you've checked for these potions, then you'll simply, any player who had their cards eliminated because they claimed brave, and another player later in the same turn claimed brave, gets to add that back to their hand, and then each player will get to take 3 additional cards for their hand. And then you'll simply go on to a new round, and the game's going to be played over, like I said, 4 rounds. So basically until this draw pile is out, you'll play one more round after players have exhausted this pile. And then you will tally up points. And the way that you're going to tally up points is that you're simply going to get 5 points for each of these potions that you've claimed. And then you'll look at the number of potions that you have in each color. So for example, if I had 1 yellow potion, that's going to be worth 0 points. But here, this player has 2 yellow potions, that would be worth 1 point. And ideally, you'll be collecting many of these over the course of the game. So they'll build up over the course of the game. So then what you're going to do, let's just say that this is all one player's collection at the end of the game. You will then, after you've tallied up the points for each individual color and added your 5 points for your potions collected, you'll look at how many total brave potions the player has across all the colors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and with 5 brave potions, they would get an additional 4 points. So again, you just tally up the potions in each color. So 1, 2, 3 is worth 2 points, for example, and then tally up the brave potions. So there'll be a point for each color, point for braves, and points for any of these that you've collected. And the player with the most points will be the winner. I should also mention that this game comes with an expansion for the first version of Broom Service, or the board game version of Broom Service, and this is simply a small card expansion. And the way that this is going to work is every turn, what you're going to do is you'll have these set up as 2 different piles of cards, and on a player's turn, if they ever choose the cowardly action in that game, instead of executing that action, they can either take one of these cards into their supply, just claim the card, and you could claim any number of these, or they could choose to execute one of the cards that they've claimed previously. So for example, this one here, you can see it gives you 2 purple potions. This one here, it allows you to get 3 victory points for each of your pawns that's in a mountain area. So these just have various effects. This one gives you an orange potion and a magic wand. Some of them give you scoring opportunities. Some of them give you more supplies. If you don't use a card at the end of the game, they're going to be worth 1 victory point each. It just is a nice additional option because sometimes in that game, because of the way the cards play, your plans are going to change and you'll not especially want to take one of your cowardly actions. So this is really a nice simplified addition to the game. The only thing that I would complain about is the way that it forces you to shuffle cards to the bottom of the deck as they're being played. Otherwise, it does, I think, work very well and does not add much rules overhead, just gives players more options. This is a really good expansion for the full version of Broom Service. All right, so that is Broom Service, the card game. And I should preface my comments by saying that the first game in this line of small box card games from Alea, the Castles of Burgundy card game, did not really work for me. I thought that game was pretty fiddly for a card game, even though it's much simpler than the board game that's based on it. Plays out in about as much time. So I was not a huge fan of that. Whereas I think that this one works exceptionally well at distilling what makes Broom Service a good game into something that's much, much quicker. The box says 15 to 30 minutes, which is absolutely accurate. With 3 players, you could easily play this whole game in 15 minutes. and still captures the overall feel of the game that's based on. There's still that bluffing element to it. When this was first revealed, I thought that it would be a re-implementation of Witch's Brew, which is the game that preceded Broom Service. It was a card game, but this one is really its own thing entirely. Unlike Witch's Brew, you could choose, if you're the leading player, to play cowardly and take the guaranteed thing, whereas in Witch's Brew, the first person has to play the brave action. And this one, I think, really works well as far as the bluffing goes, because it gives you more information. You do not always have every card available to you, although you have a large stack of cards, from 12 to 17, I believe, depending on the player count. You are going to not necessarily have every color in your hand, which is different from the other games that's based on. But at the same time, you're going to be making increasingly informed decisions over the course of the game, both because you can see what other players are collecting and because you could basically count the cards that are around the table. Each card has on it the number of cards of that type that are in the deck, so you could really, have a sense of how many cards are still out there and what your odds are of getting away with a brave action of a given card, which is really great. And I really like that. It adds a little strategic element or a tactical element that was not in the other games in this series. And I think overall the game works exceptionally well. It gives you multiple scoring opportunities. You could either try to collect a lot of one type of potion and focus on that, although there you'll be at the mercy of the card draws, or you could go for those potions that give you points for completing a recipe. And players are going to be racing to get those. There's only 3 for the entire game. They don't replenish, although people can complete them on the same turn. And that really adds a lot of tension to the game, especially because one player's action could essentially nullify another player's action. So overall, I think that this is an absolutely great filler game. It's one that, I think is going to hit the table for me way more than Broom Service does, because that tends to play in about 45 minutes to an hour, which is maybe a little bit longer than I want that game to last. And because of that, I've tended to revert back to playing Witch's Brew, which is a slightly simpler game, but it's one that's much quicker. And this is quicker than both of them and still feels a lot like the good parts of those games. So it's a game that I absolutely recommend. The fact that it comes with an expansion for Broom Service, and a good expansion at that, is a mega bonus, and it's extremely cheap. I think that the retail price on this is going to be something like $12 or $15. So it's an absolute no-brainer purchase for me. It plays from 3 to 6, plays very quickly, and it's very fun. Those are my thoughts on Broom Service, the card game. Thanks for watching.